NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network, presented by Williams Engineering and also brought to you by Hercules Tire. I'm Hannah Newhouse. Each and every week, Kyle, Rickey, and I bring you the most recent short track racing news, not only here in the States, but also internationally. And Kyle, we're starting to run out of things to talk about when it comes down to it, because we've got series that have crowned their champions, including the modifieds. The ARCA East champion has been crowned. The NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series champion has been crowned. We're starting to dwindle here when it comes down to it, but the ARCA Menard Series, they still have a couple more races. They raced this past weekend at Salem for the Sioux Chief PowerPex 200, presented by Scott County Tourism.
Which was the final race in the Sioux Chief Showdown. More on that in a moment. But at the end of the event, we had a new winner in Jesse Love picking up the win past Ty Gibbs on a late race restart in the outside lane, which was impressive to watch there at the Salem Speedway. And I guess you can get away with it there with all the banking around that racetrack. Ty Gibbs ended up finishing second. Rajah Caruth was third. Will Kimmel fourth, and a good run for Gracie Trotter rounding out the top five. We did not mention Corey Heim in the top five. He finished in the seventh spot, and that means Gibbs was able to extend that championship point lead now to 34 points, heading to the season finale at Kansas Speedway on October 23rd, which can be heard right here on the Motor Racing Network at 7 p.m. Eastern time that evening, right after the Xfinity race that day.
Yeah, cool to see Jesse Love get that first ARCA Menard Series win. Of course, he's the reigning champion of the West Series, currently leading the West Series points right now. They'll go racing at All-American Speedway this up and coming weekend, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. And cool to see the Venerini car kind of get the win over Gibbs. Gibbs was going for his 11th win of the season, but Jesse Love decided to put a stop to it. So cool to see another first-time winner in the trend of first-time winners that we really had all across NASCAR's platforms this past weekend. We also talked a little bit about, of course, the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, wrapping up their stuff. Peyton Sellers, of course, was declared your Division I champion a few weeks ago. We're going to talk to him a little bit later. An astounding season that he had, 37 starts, 21 wins. We talked to him going into this year, mid-season, Kyle, when it maybe looked like he still had a chance to be beat. But, it's official, so I'm excited to talk to him a little bit later.
First championship in the Division I platform of NASCAR on the short track level in 16 years. And it has changed so much. I feel like each year we kind of talk about the structure of how the champion will be crowned being different, whether it be by state, by region, and by the nation as a whole. And even with all the changes, even with everything that's happened over the last 16 years, he figured out the formula and he did what he needed to do. And that is ultimately win races in good field of cars and gather as many points as he can. But I think the other cool thing was, looking at the top five, all the different regions that were represented. We had, Todd Patnode in the Northeast and Craig Van Dorn on dirt down in Pennsylvania. Had some guys out in the Midwest right there among the top five as well. So really cool to see all that play out, but great for Peyton to get that second championship. We'll talk to him here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, the Division 2 through 5 champions were also announced. Division 2 was David Greenslit, came home with 11 wins, primarily racing at Hudson, Claremont, Lee USA, and Monadnock, so around the New Hampshire area. Division 3 was Chad Baxter, collecting 6 wins, only at the Seekonk Speedway up in Massachusetts. Tom McCarty came home with the Division 4 championship, collecting 5 wins solely at the Berlin Raceway in Michigan. And then Division 5 was Chris Vaniswad, I think it's Vaniswad, with 12 wins, but he split those between Adams County Speedway and I-80 Speedway out in Iowa. So a lot of drivers putting in a lot of work, both at their home tracks, a lot of them doing that traveling to maintain the wins and the good finishes. Again, Kyle, we talk about it each and every year. The point system, it's a whole race within a race. A lot of these guys racing for their track championships, their state championships, but to go and compete at a national level is big. So we'll talk to Peyton Sellers about that Division I championship here shortly. But first, we have your iRacing update presented by Logitech G. Of course, it all comes down to this race. 4 drivers now have the chance to win the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship. The championship is on Tuesday, October 12th at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. You can catch all of the action and the iRacing countdown to green at enascar.com/live at 8:30 p.m. and the race starting at enascar.com at 9 p.m. Tuesday, October 12th. Go to iRacing.com for all of the latest news, featured videos, and more information on the world of iRacing. This iRacing update is brought to you by Logitech G. Stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Gamers, start your engines. Meet the next generation of racing wheels. The award-winning Logitech G design is re-engineered to dial into your game physics, delivering unprecedented realism. Feel every shift, drift, and hairpin turn like never before. Our latest innovation in force feedback technology connects directly to endgame simulation engines and physics to produce higher fidelity, real-time responses. Through design, engineering, and the love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Go to logitechg.com.
All right, welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. We're now joined by your 2021 Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series champion, that being Peyton Sellers. First and foremost, Peyton, thanks so much for taking some time to hang out with us here on Coast to Coast, and congratulations officially on that championship.
Hey, I like the way that sounded, and I appreciate you the intro like that. So I know it's good to be back on with you guys. I know we talked earlier this summer, and we were chasing a national championship, but now to be national champions is definitely something I'm very proud of,
Absolutely. And when you got that phone call, when you first got, the notification that, hey, it's secured, or honestly, even leading up to it, when you could see the points gap and knew that there was really just no way that it was going to be closed, what were the emotions when you were finally officially given the second championship title?
It came down the last month or so. We've been chasing Jacob Gady. We've been kind of watching him every week, watching Race Monitor, watching the internet, watching social media, seeing how he finished here at La Crosse and here at Madison and Elko and everywhere in between. And we kept thinking, it's like, time's running out. He's got to get some races in. He had a few more starts than we did all along, but the bulk of their racing comes later in the summer out there. We get started a little bit earlier here in the East, so we had a lot of races in. We had some good numbers up. We had, at the time we had like 15, 16 wins, and that was very good. But through the month of, late August, September, we're like, he's really got to hit some strong numbers here in the next few weeks to be in contention going into the last couple of weeks. And, he was finishing second. He would start 13th and finish second. He would start 10th and finish second. And like, he was second and everybody to death. He just couldn't get that final spot. And for us, that's where those bonus points came in. When he would start 13th and get to second, that was a huge bullet dodge for us, because if he would have won, he would have gotten 4 extra bonus points. So, into September, we're like, things are looking good. The last race at Dominion, Kevin Nevalainen was there from NASCAR, and it was like, he wanted to say that we were the national champion, but he couldn't. And Steve Phelps called last week and said, 2 weeks ago now, and said, we just wanted to congratulate you on behalf of NASCAR and give the speech there. And to finally get that call and just know that, I've raced my whole life. I had a national championship in 2005 as the youngest national champion. And I had the opportunity to go out as a driver. That was truly a stepping stone for me at the time, to be able to go into the West Series with Richard Childress and the East Series after that and run some Xfinity and truck races. It propelled me to a different level at that point in my career. Well, to be able to come back, 16 years later, and I'm here running our family business right now. I've got my brother keeping up the cars, my dad's spotting. It's truly a family affair. And we haven't really run for national titles year after year, but we have 2 or 3 times, and it's just so hard to win these things and put together a season that it takes. And, this second time around means a lot more, as far as just, I'm able to kind of sit here and cherish it a little bit and enjoy it as with my family around me. So, before, I was young buck trying to win races, using it as a stepping stone to move up, and it did just that. It propelled me to a national level. And now to be able to sit here and say, what, this is pretty neat. Middle of the day, I get to talk to you guys. I get to do different things that, normally I wouldn't get a chance to do. So definitely been, enjoying it a lot more.
Hannah and I talked earlier about how the system has changed over the last 16 years, especially. I feel like every year it's tweaked a little on how a national champion is determined. What are some of the big changes that you've noticed from 16 years ago to now, as far as how a national champion is crowned and how this has evolved?
So NASCAR is constantly tweaking that point system. It used to be a points index system back in the day. Then they went to regions, and then they went to the year that I won it in 2005. You had to win your track title in order to win the national title. Well, 2 weeks before the end of the year, I'm racing door to door with Drew Herring every week. Drew's running second, third to me. He won a bunch of races that year. I was leading the national points, but I was on the brink of losing the track championship. So very easily I could have lost the track title, which would have lost the national title for me. So they've tweaked that now to where drivers can go to other tracks within their region and gain points, and it's a lot easier, I'd say. But at the end of the day, you've got to have wins because they've got bonus points now, and you've got to start further back to get those bonus points. So it encourages the tracks to do more inverts now, like dirt racing. Dirt racing did that for years. Well, up until 10 years ago, nobody on asphalt was doing a lot of inverts. So now the tracks are starting to do a lot of inverts and things like that. And it's mixed it up. The races are getting shorter now. When I won it the first time, we were running 150 lap shows, 200 lap shows, week in and week out. Well, now we're doing twin 75s, twin 60s at Dominion. And, fans want to see that. We all know that, in the last 5 years, fans are pushing to see shorter races and more exciting. And so when they invert and they do shorten up the race, drivers got to be on the wheel. You've got to use the bumper to get by some guys to get back to the front. So the point system is ever evolving. And I think that's just keeping up with the times. So, this year it might be favored toward this side of the country that does this, but usually they balance it out by the next year to make it equal for everybody. I truly feel that guys at Irwindale, La Crosse, South Boston, New Smyrna, everywhere in between, they've got a pretty fair shot right now. As long as the weather holds out and they've got an opportunity to get in, 25 shows, they can have an equal opportunity to win a national title right now, the way it is.
It's been fun to cover the last couple of years. Like Kyle said, there were times where we were using calculators and spreadsheets and making phone calls midweek to NASCAR going, okay, explain this. And I feel like you said, we finally have kind of found a little common denominator with it. That difference between the first championship and now, how has the competition level kind of changed on a local level and in regards to having that national competition?
So when I won it the first time, I was a young guy. I was the 18, 19-year-old guy racing week in and week out. And I was running against guys like, Denny Hamlin, Timothy Peters, Woody Howard, who won a lot of Pro Cup races and, good short track racers, Philip Morris, Barry Beggerly, a lot of guys that are legends in this area that have went on to the bigger levels and different things. And that's just a few of the drivers. Like Drew Herring, I was competing against him for my national title. We all know Drew's works for Gibbs, and he's had a good career. He's a heck of a driver. And, there's been a lot of changes in the series from then. Then you had guys running as a career in late model stock racing. Now, stepping stone. There's not many guys running late models year after year right now. So the new faces coming in and out is definitely changing more now because young drivers come in, they race a year or two, they leave, they move up, then they move out if they don't make it. They're chasing wanting to be a driver. I think back in the day, drivers raced because they loved it. It was a passion. There was a lot more respect on the track. Back then we'd race 150 lap race. You had to keep the fenders on. You couldn't just go in there and jack a guy sideways to pass him because you knew once you wore your tires out and got in front of him, he was going to be back to your bumper again. So it's a different respect level. It's the age has definitely dropped. You got Landon Pimbleton. He's 16 years old. He's beating door to door with me week in and week out for wins right now. So the talent is there today, but the ages have definitely changed throughout the time. But it's harder to get sponsorship. It's harder to put deals together right now to be able to run like as much as we have this year. I've got good sponsors behind us that have stuck with us for years. Clarence's Steakhouse was with me in the first championship in 05. And they're back with me, they're with me still in 21. So it's hard to find those kind of partnerships that just kind of stick it out with you year after year.
You mentioned Landon, more on him in a moment, but you also mentioned the schedule and how it's hard to do this more now than 16 years ago. We talked midsummer about maybe some schedule adjustments. I mean, were there any as you got toward August and September and closed in on those final weeks of this national championship run, trying to maximize those points?
So last year was such an odd year with COVID. Me and Josh Berry both ended up running first and second in national points. I don't think even anybody had national points on their radar until the middle to end of July. And all of a sudden, me and Josh Berry realized, hey, we can run for a national title. So we started finding Friday night shows and Sunday afternoon shows and everywhere we could go. And we'd race at Langley on Saturday night, and then drive to Southern National on Sunday, trying to make shows and get points. And, it was a different environment. This year we were able to start off earlier, kind of start the trend and just race twins every week. And we didn't have to do anything crazy this year. By having some wins early on, it put us in a comfort level to where we said, you know what, we're not going to go find a Kingsport on Friday night or a Southern National on Sunday or Wake County on Friday. We're not going to go out and do stupid stuff right now. We're not going to go out and, spend money that we didn't have trying to chase this thing. If the cards are meant to be, they'll fall into place. And we were able to run twins every week between South Boston and Dominion. We squeezed in a couple of big shows at Langley and different things like that. But we just raced, one event per week. And that was a lot easier on everybody, to be quite honest with you. I'd be here and get our business going on Friday morning, and we'd take off and go practice and then race on Saturday, back home on Sunday. So the schedule was easier this year. It was longer. We raced more races, but they were all just one per weekend. And, it made it a lot easier on everybody, truthfully. So.
And I'm sure that helped the balancing act of, like you said, got a business going, and that includes housing and, kind of helping some up and coming developmental drivers, including Landon Pembleton, who we actually had on the show last week talking about that big win at Martinsville, Valley Star Credit Union 300. What a cool story there. But what has it been for you as a driver to, in some instances, kind of take a back seat and coach and teach these young kids that are coming up, but also get the opportunity to race with them on the racetrack?
So our shop this year has been really busy. We've got Daniel Silvestri that's running the Cars Tour. He won Dominion a few weeks ago in the Cars Tour. He qualified on the pole at Martinsville. Landon Pembleton has won, a race at South Boston this year. Me and him went door to door that whole night racing, and he beat me. And I'm very proud of him because I didn't give him an inch. I used him up. I raced him as hard as I could possibly race him, and he come out the victor, and he has done an excellent job. But when his dad used to drive for us years ago, and when Landon kind of went through go-kart racing, I always, was kind of keeping up with him, following him, and to see him grow from racing the sportsman division last year to moving up to late models this year, he is a true rookie. This kid has got no experience in late models until this year. And he has just developed. He's done an excellent job. We've been able to get his cars better each week. He's getting better with his feedback, knowing what he needs. And his race skill on a track has gotten better each week by racing up front. So it's very fulfilling to me to see young drivers doing well coming out of our shop. Don't get me wrong, it's good for our business. Our product is what happens on the racetrack. But we were very fortunate this year. We had two kids with Landon Pembleton and Daniel Silvestri that were able to put up numbers. And, while you might not have heard of them throughout the year, they were still racing and doing well. But at Martinsville, when it's kind of our biggest stage of the year, it's our Daytona 500. I was fastest in final practice. Daniel qualified on the pole, and Landon won. Like, what more could you ask for out of our shop? So it proved that HC and all the guys out here in the shop are doing their homework and working hard and putting up good numbers. But on the same token, we've got good drivers fulfilling those seats and making us shine too.
I feel like they get younger every year, and I feel like they catch on quicker every year as well. It's amazing the young talent that is out there right now throughout all the short tracks and including in your shop.
Yeah, what's very odd? Like when I grew up racing, we had go-karts, and then you might go to a micro sprint or you might go to a Legends car, but people didn't do a lot of Legends car. It was kind of getting bigger, but it's kind of still unheard of a little bit. You mainly went into a hobby stock or a grand stock or something like that at your local short track. Nowadays, they've got these Legends Nationals all over the countries, and Legends car drivers make good race car drivers because they've got so much horsepower. They've got no tire. They just make good stock car drivers. All the guys that I'm seeing right now that are shining in late model stock racing come out of Legends cars. So I think that's as good a breeding ground right now as there could possibly be. Go-kart racing is fun. Don't get me wrong. We all enjoy that, and it's good at a younger age. But the Legends car just teaches you so much about throttle control and things like that. Obviously the dirt world is a big opportunity for that with sprint cars and things like that. But there's a lot of Legends guys right now that are doing well at the next level.
And a Legend alumni, Bubba Wallace, getting his first win over the weekend as well. Peyton, again, congratulations. Always good to catch up with you. We look forward to, of course, watching not only your success over the next year or so, but of course your drivers as well that we, get to root for as we watch their career. So congratulations. And again, thanks for taking some time to hang out with us here on Coast to Coast. Absolutely,
guys. We appreciate it. And just thank NASCAR for the opportunity to have this weekly short track series that gives guys like me the opportunity to compete at a platform. And, with Advanced Auto Parts coming on board, it's a lot of opportunities there for young racers to get in the weekly short track series and perform and compete at this level. So thank you guys for having us on, and we just look forward to hopefully representing NASCAR and doing well with it.
Absolutely. Again, we want to thank Advanced Auto Parts as well, because like you said, without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. And Kyle and I always look forward to covering this throughout the summer as well. Again, guys, Peyton Sellers, your 2021 Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series champion. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got your Whelen Engineering Modified Driver Spotlight.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Get back to NASCAR roots by driving headfirst into the new home of grassroots racing. Flow Racing keeps the original NASCAR tradition of dirt track racing roaring with more than 1,300 live and on-demand oval events from across the U.S. Learn how the next generation of NASCAR drivers is prospected in sprint car racing. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/GoMRN. That's FLORacing.com/GoMRN.
Time now for this week's Whelen Engineering Modified Driver Spotlight. And today, again, we're going to feature another driver that has found a lot of success up in the Northeast region of the country, where the modifieds are most prominent, including an SK Light champion at the Stafford Motor Speedway. He's found success in tour-type modifieds and in the SK modifieds as well. Marcello Rafrano joins us. Marcello, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
21 years old from North Haven, Connecticut. In fact, I think you just turned 21 recently.
Right.
How did that celebration go for you? I'm afraid to ask.
We can talk about that.
Exactly.
No. Well worth it. Well worth the wait. Yeah. No. I haven't got much time to celebrate lately. Been pretty busy with what we got going on here at TFR. Been getting the new car done. We actually made our debut with it this past Friday at Stafford Motor Speedway. Not quite the expectations we had going into it. Obviously, it's a new car. It was a fresh notebook for us. So, I kind of expected something like this to happen. But, we're just kind of building a notebook now. I can't see how we're not going to be able to get in the right direction here pretty soon. But, better than that and work, that's pretty much been taking up most of my time.
We're going to talk about the current stuff here in a moment, but let's go back to where it all began. What got you involved in motorsports and ultimately wanting to become a race car driver all those years ago?
Well, my father was always involved in racing in general. Started off with drag racing. He actually got involved in drag racing through the Greco family. They actually had a raced at Stafford Motor Speedway in the late model division with the Shark, Billy Greco, and he worked in the machine shop over there, that Greco machine. Kind of just worked his way up through that, and stuck with drag racing for a little bit, and then as soon as he started getting older, he kind of was getting out of it. And then Keith Rocco came knock on his door one day, asking for sponsorship money, and kind of like dragged him into circle track. And yeah, I mean, the story kind of goes from there. Multiple wins later, championships and national championship, and pretty much everything else involved with racing. Just been involved with circle track racing this whole time. He loves it. I think he's kind of glad he got caught into it, because I don't think he would be passing much time as he did now, because he is involved with racing a lot, especially with me now. It's pretty interesting to think what my life wouldn't be if Keith Rocco didn't come knocking on my door, or my father's business that day.
So do you remember your first race, the first time you ever sat in the seat of a race car? Where was it, and how'd you do?
So I got involved with the Monday night program at Stafford Motor Speedway. I kind of got involved going to Friday nights, just kind of pretty much how everyone else pretty much starts to get the itch. And then they pretty much find some type of way to get involved in the racing, either it's, working on the cars or going out and racing. Wade Gagner actually worked with us closely in getting involved with the Monday night program. And, we built that first cart of ours and went out and actually had Jeff Rocco come out and help us for the first couple of nights so I can get the use of it. And the story kind of goes from there. They just kind of worked our way through the Monday night program, progressed through the ranks, through the Tiger B's, Tiger A's, and then the juniors. And then, just other than that, and going to Friday nights and watching racing, that's kind of how I fell in love with the sport and actually like getting involved with it and racing.
You've mentioned the Monday night program. That's a Wild Thing kart program that Wade and Sandy Gagner own and promote, and it's been going on for decades at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Has groomed a lot of the then young drivers into the bigger track action at Stafford on Friday nights. You're 6 years into the big track racing at Stafford. It started with a street stock. When you got in the full fendered car, did you always have that goal of the modified?
Naturally at first, yeah. That's kind of what I always wanted to go into. What stuck with me most growing up was watching, Teddy and Keith in the SK Modifieds, but even more so was watching the Wheel and Modified Tour. Actually, I just felt that kind of nostalgia just going to the racetrack, and it just kind of gave you like a better way to explain it, like a heartwarming feeling, like watching them guys go out and battle like that. It kind of like made it a big stage for us on the short track. And growing up watching the Old Blue and Santos and Kobe and all them guys, watching them grow up, that kind of meant more to me than anything rather than racing. When I watched SK racing, I kind of focused more towards Keith and Teddy. And that's all I watched. But when I watched tour racing, I didn't have one particular person. I kind of just watched all of it. And I loved it. I drank it in, and that's kind of what I always wanted to stick my foot into. So, I started with street stocks. I knew I had to make my way somewhere. So I couldn't, we kind of settled on that going in, because it kind of seemed the easiest way to go about it. You can build your own motors. Build the car, easiest way to get in there mechanically, and like learning how to work on the cars and how to set them up, and just kind of, it was a simpler way to go about it rather than like throwing yourself right into the sharks going with the SK Lights.
But then you did progress to the SK Light Modifieds, and you are a former champion in that division, probably one of the most dramatic championship battles we have seen in quite some time. Hard to believe it's already been 3 years since that battle between you and Brian Narducci. How special was that year and that championship for you?
Year was storybook, to be honest with you. Going back now, being seasoned now, I probably made a couple of mistakes on my part that probably could have made the championship a little bit easier attainable. And I'm sure Brian's got, plenty of days that he wish he could have changed too. But, in the moment, that was, it was pretty special. We had a lot of success that year, a lot of wins, and just a lot of repeat wins too on top of that. I don't think it was more, setup wise that we figured out. I think it was more driver. The first year, I figured it out, but I wasn't really pushing the issue. I didn't really have I didn't really have the comfortability with the car, you know. And then going into my second full-time season, I kind of just went into it as a regular Monday night. Like if I was racing go-karts again, I just kind of muscled the car around per se. I had a lot more comfortability with it, and I was able to do a lot more with it. And obviously we got better with the car and setup wise, and just kind of learned a lot. So I can't say that, you know, the competition wise was good too, because Brian really made us work harder, and he really he kind of stepped it up, or made us step out our game. You know, not saying that before it wasn't tough, but it just made it tougher. And I thought it made it a lot more fun. You know, at least I had someone to go out there and race against and compete and battle with.
And then the competition and the game steps up even more when you move to the SK Modifieds. 11 wins in a couple seasons in the SK Lights. Still looking for that first win in the SKs. How would you kind of describe your first now 3 years, 2.5 years, if you include 2020, running just half last year? But how would you describe these last couple of years, you know, moving into arguably one of the toughest short track divisions in the country, at least on asphalt?
Yeah, well, not going to say it's not a struggle. I mean, it hasn't been the easiest transition. I want to put most of the blame on me, but I know we haven't had the best car, and I can just know by the feel of it and how far off it just seems we are from other people. You know, I just, not saying that we're not working hard enough. It just seems like we've been straying off in the wrong direction. You know, I've definitely learned a lot as a driver, you know, competing in the SK Modifieds. And, you know, I know these guys going there every week have the same mentality. They want to go out and win that race, and they do everything that they do to, like, at all costs to go out there and try and win that race. So I try not to be down on myself too much, because, you know, I mean, you look at Michael Christopher struggled a lot of years in the SK Modifieds before he became the driver that he is now. You know, part of that being, you know, yeah, he learned a lot those couple of years, and you know, they bettered themselves as like drivers, and, you know, as far as setup and everything. You know, it takes a good driver and a good car to really mesh together and, you know, create that success. You know, obviously you're going to have your up and down seasons. You know, you're going to have those seasons where you're unbeatable, and those seasons where you're like, what the hell am I even showing up to the racetrack for, kind of seasons, you know. And, you know, part of it, I watched Keith through the years, and I watched him struggle a lot, and I watched him go from 10-win seasons to 1-win seasons. You know, that was kind of hard to grasp, you know, because when I was younger, I would go to the racetrack and I'd be like, well, obviously we're going to take a picture tonight because Keith's going to win. That's kind of how I figured it, like that. Obviously I didn't understand at the time. I just thought Keith was just that much better than everyone else. But, you know, obviously growing up and learn more aspects of the sport, that's not the case. You know, you got to be 100% everywhere, and he'll be the first one to tell you, and everyone else in the pit area would be the one to tell you, you know. So I'm sure we're going to figure it out here pretty soon. You know, I think we got really good leadership here with Robbie Fuller, and I think, you know, this past month up here building this car with these guys, it's just opened my mind and how much this sport has evolved through the years. You know, just watching the different components going in these race cars now and how they set them up and just how they go about going into a race, you know, makes us like almost seem like, yeah, we've been behind the 8 ball. Like, we've been stuck on the same stuff we've been doing for God knows how many years. And these guys just open my brain to so much. And, you know, it's going to be a big learning experience, and hopefully it pays off.
What's next for you, or what do you hope is next for you? Obviously, you know, all the focus has been on the SK Modified. You have a tour type modified win at Stafford last year. Where do you hope 2022 and beyond brings you in modified racing?
Well, I mean, I've just been so focused on SK Modified racing these past couple of years. It's kind of, I want to be great in SK Modified racing before I want to start moving on to other divisions. You know, I mean, we run really good in the open car, which kind of like keeps my head up, knowing that if I can compete with those guys in the open modifieds, I can't see why I can't do that with the SK Modifieds. You know, it's just, we're not clicking somewhere in the SKs, and pretty soon we're going to figure it out. We just figured out the open car, I think, a little bit quicker than other people thought we would, you know. And I try not to ride my head too high on that, because at the end of the day, you get a big wake up call if you show up to the racetrack and those guys figure something else out make you chase your tail pretty quick. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't focus on that, but I think once we start running better in SKs, I'll feel a little bit better about myself moving up. But, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, can't really look down upon myself. Kind of got to take the good and the bad with it. You know, that's just pretty much it. I mean, I'd love to try and get out and do some more open shows. I feel like I run a lot better in them shows than I do in the SK shows. And I think part of that, like I said, was with the car and how we got it figured out. But yeah, I mean, I think we're just pretty much going to stick with SK racing here at Stafford. You know, I've been wanting to stray out back to the Waterford and Thompson, but you know, we've been so like mindset on getting good at Stafford. We just haven't really had the relaxing time to go out and play at Waterford or play at Thompson. So I think once we figure ourselves out, we'd be a little bit more susceptible to going out and racing other tracks and competing in other divisions.
No doubt, a lot of options up here when it comes to modified racing in New England, but trying to figure out that home track first at Stafford Motor Speedway on Friday nights. Marcello, thanks for joining us here. I know it's right in the middle of the work day for you, so we'll let you get back to work, and thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me.
Marcello Rafrano, this week's Whelen Engineering Modified Driver Spotlight here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Gamers, start your engines. Meet the next generation of racing wheels. The award-winning Logitech G design is re-engineered to dial into your game physics, delivering unprecedented realism. Feel every shift, drift, and hairpin turn like never before. Our latest innovation in force feedback technology connects directly to endgame simulation engines and physics to produce higher fidelity, real-time responses. Through design, engineering, and the love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Go to logitechg.com.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. A lot of international racing expected this up and coming weekend. Of course, we already crowned that Pinty Series champion up in Canada, but the NASCAR Peak Mexico Series has another round of racing this upcoming weekend at Oval Aguascalientes. They have 3 weekends left in their championship. They'll crown their champion on December 5th in Puebla. And then also the NASCAR Euro Series heads to Circuit Zolder this weekend, a doubleheader for them, the 9th and the 10th. Their championship race at the tail end of this month, October 30th and 31st at NASCAR GP Italy. And then Kyle, of course, the ARCA West Series headed to All-American Speedway for the Napa Auto Care 150 presented by Burco Redwood on October 9th. The point standings right now in the ARCA West Series, closest we've seen in a long time amongst the top 6. 23 points separating your leader of Jesse Love and 6th of Trevor Huddleston.
Yeah, and right at the top, 7 points between Jesse Love and Jake Drew in a run for that championship. Just 14 back to Cole Moore, Joey East, 15 back, Paul Pedroncelli, 15 points back as well. So 2 races to go. They'll wrap it up on championship weekend for the NASCAR National Series at a couple of weeks' time at the Phoenix Raceway. Hard to believe we're already talking about that weekend being this close, but it is just over a month away, and that's when the ARCA West Series will also crown their 2021 champion.
And yeah, Kyle, we've actually seen a lot of short track racing, not only this upcoming weekend, but over the next couple of weeks kind of that have seen postponements still due to the lovely tire shortages that we're dealing with.
Yeah, the Hoosier tire shortage has been something that most short tracks have had to deal with at all levels, even go-karts up here in the Northeast have had to limit their tires over the course of the summer months. Most of the clubs got through the season with no real issues, but New Smyrna Speedway announcing recently that they are canceling the rest of their 2021 Pro Late Model and Super Late Model events. The Clyde Hart Memorial, also a part of that cancellation, or I guess that would be a postponement, along with the Heart to Heart Breast Cancer Foundation event for their super late models. They will be run next year as part of the World Series of Asphalt Racing next February. They'll just move those events from the tail end of this year to the beginning of 2022. And then Hickory Motor Speedway down in North Carolina just announced that the Fall Brawl, also postponed due to the tire shortage. They will now run on Saturday, November 6th. It'll include a 200-lap event for the late models, 100 laps for the limited late models, 75 for the pro late models, and 30 for the street stocks. So hopefully things improve by then and they can get that full race program in with no issues.
Yeah, looking forward to actually seeing the Heart to Heart and the Clyde Hart Memorial moved to World Series, just adding to the extra hype of course, the Modified Tour now starting their point season off. You know, we usually see the addition of an ARCA East race down there as well. So the hype around Speed Weeks continues to build, and it's absolutely wild to think that it's only a couple months away. Actually kind of makes me a little sick to my stomach to think that it's only a couple of months away that we will restart the NASCAR season down in Florida. So again, we want to send a congratulations to Peyton Sellers on another national championship here in the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. And best of luck to all of the drivers over the next weekend. And congratulations to Jesse Love on his ARCO win as well. We'll recap it all next week for you here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. I'm Hannah Newhouse for Kyle, Rickey, and producers Craig Moore. We'll see you guys next week.